The Monstera is a great tropical exotic houseplant that's fairly easy to care for, but there are issues that do arise, and we're going to talk about how to deal with them and how to keep your Monstera healthy and happy. The first issue I want to talk about is browning leaf edges. You can see just along the edge of most of this leaf and on a few of the others, there's brown tips and brown edges. What this probably means is that the plant isn't getting enough water. So I only come into the office every week or less often to water, and it's probably not getting regular enough water and potentially not deep enough water. So to fix that, I'm going to water the plant more thoroughly, more often. I'm also going to remove this bottom tray that doesn't allow me to see when water comes out the bottom. So I'll be able to water it a lot more and be able to know when it's fully saturated. And also I may do some bottom soaking watering to make sure it gets fully soaked all the way through. And that should fix the problem. Just more regular watering and a bit deeper of watering, and also being able to see water when it comes out the bottom. Keep in mind though that these plants don't like to be soaking wet. They're definitely prone to root rot, so you don't want them sitting in water for long periods of time. If you overwater your plant, what you'll have is leaves turning yellow, potentially stems turning black, but the easiest way to tell if it's overwatered is if your soil stays soaking wet for long periods of time. To avoid overwatering, every time you water, stick your finger down in the soil and make sure that top several inches of soil have dried out. Also, be sure you have a pot that has good drainage in the bottom and soil that drains fairly well. My Monstera is looking pretty good. There's still a few brown tips on some of the leaves that were there before, but no new tips have been developing, no new brown tips. And all three of the plants in this pot are putting out nice new leaves. So I think it's pretty happy. If your Monstera is getting long and leggy with a lot of space between different nodes, the point where the leaves come off of the stem, it probably means it's not getting enough light. So Monstera can handle a full range of light, but keep in mind, if it's very low light, they may get leggy, and if it's a lot of direct sunshine, you might end up burning your leaves. So I have my Monstera here with these big windows. This is a northwest facing window and a north facing window. So mostly it gets a lot of really bright light, indirect light, and then a bit of filtered direct sunshine coming through the fiddle leaf fig here. So what causes a Monstera leaves to droop like this one is? Most likely this is due to not enough water, not enough humidity. I think there's a couple things going on here. First of all, it's getting a good bit of direct sunlight. Monsteras can handle a good bit of direct sunshine, but that in combination with fairly low humidity here, and also I think I did a little bit too good of a job with using well-draining soil when I repotted these. So there's a few things I'm going to do. I'm going to put a pot under it so I can do a full soaking watering. I'm going to put something under it so I can bottom water. And also I'm going to water it a bit more regularly than I have been, just to be able to keep up with that well-draining soil that I put a lot of sand in. After a month or more of regular water and occasional fertilizer, this Monstera seems to be a lot happier as well. I've got several new leaves coming out here, and the old leaves, there's still some drooping, but they're less droopy than they were before. A root-bound Monstera typically means it needs more space. So how do you tell if a plant is root-bound? One of the best ways to tell if Monstera needs more space if there are roots coming out of the bottom of the pot. This clearly is extremely root-bound and needs a lot more space. So if you're going to repot your Monstera, if it needs more space, make sure you use a pot that's a few inches bigger, a pot that has good drainage holes, and some soil that drains fairly well as well. I'm going to loosen up this root ball just a little bit, maybe pull off some of this excessively long stuff that's sticking out the bottom, but mostly I'm going to leave the root ball intact. It's not too terribly packed. And all these aerial roots are much too long. I'm gonna either trim them or tuck them back into pots, depending on where they are. And you might wonder why I used a trash can when I repotted this. This trash can, I think it may not be fancy, it may not be a nice terracotta pot, but it is simple, clean, it's very inexpensive, and it's light, which I like. The one thing I am noticing is that the soil mixture that I used is retaining water for a bit longer than I want. It's staying wet for longer than I want. So far, no problems with rot, but I should have added a bit more large material, a bit more loose, large material like small gravel to get better drainage so it dried out faster. Look how happy it is. All these nice big new leaves and new growth. I think it is really liking the bigger pot and the regular watering.